redwood tree was here when Jesus walked this earth.
With a 300-foot tall monster tree like these.
There's something really magical about redwood forest.
The largest individual tree on the planet was also a coast redwood.
It has survived 2,000 years of fires, droughts, earthquakes, storms, every possible calamity that you can think of. And every business book that you probably have read, every company you admire, every startup unicorn is an infant when you compare it with this tree. And in the next 7 minutes, we are going to learn from that giant tree about building a lasting business and maybe learn better than what we can from an MBA. That tree has been growing since 0 AD. When it was a seedling, Rome was still conquering the world. When it was middle-aged, Columbus hadn't discovered or sailed to America yet. And if you think of the oldest surviving company in the world today, it's about 1400 years old. It's called Kongo Gumi in Japan, and even that is rare. But for this tree, that's like, okay, not too old. Do you know what's the lifespan of a company today? 10, maybe 15 years. If you go back to 1960s, it was 60 years. So we are actually getting worse in building things that last long. And in all of this tree keeps just growing. If you notice the rings of this tree, there's something very unique, interesting. They're thick ones and they're thin ones. The thick ones is when the tree had a great year, nice food, nice sunlight, perfect conditions. The thin ones were the hard years, drought years, no rainfall, hard to survive. But what's incredible here is the rings kept forming, the tree kept growing, even by a millimeter, but it was growing. Now, if you look at the startup ecosystem today, they grow like a bamboo shoot, incredibly fast, grow up to 3 feet in a single day. Impressive, right? But how long do they last? 5, 10 years, and then they die. But whereas this redwood tree, steady, slow, and consistent growth over thousands of years. If you take Amazon's example, Jeff Bezos once famously said, I'm not building a company for the next quarter, I'm building it for the next century. And Amazon actually barely made any profits for the first 20 odd years, but it kept growing steadily, slowly, like the tree. And look at where they are now. They're just unstoppable, just like the tree. Even if you take the world's richest man's example, Warren Buffett, his company never made 10x returns or 5x returns, very huge returns. They were just growing 20% average for almost 50 years. Eventually, a $1,000 investment got converted into $36 million. And meanwhile, look at what WeWork tried to do. It tried to grow like a bamboo, grew from $75 million to $1.8 billion. But in 5 to 10 years' time, where are they now? Pretty much dead, I think. And this brings me to an interesting concept from James Carr's called infinite games. The finite games have got winners and losers, start and stop, like football or a chess. And most businesses play these finite games. Beat the competition, win the market, get the exit, pretty much done. But an infinite game doesn't have any winners or losers. The goal is to just keep playing. Like this tree. The tree is just trying to grow. It is not trying to beat or win against other trees. The goal is to just continue growing. And when you start playing infinite games, you start making completely different decisions because you're not optimizing for next quarter or next cycle or next year. You're optimizing for next century. Your competition isn't other companies. It is time, and time always wins unless you start playing a different game. Now, when I looked what's under my feet when I was walking around these trees, I found roots. The surprising part is not that. For a tree which can grow 100, 200, 300 feet tall and up to 500 tons in weight, how can they have roots which are spreading around and not going deeper? And then I learned they only go 10 to 12 feet deep, not beyond that. But outwards, they grow up to 100 feet in breadth. And that's where it gets crazy. These spread out roots hold all the trees together. And suddenly what looked like a grove of redwood trees, one large organism sharing these roots, holding each other. And that's not it. It gets even crazier. They share nutrients with each other, what they call as fungal networks. If one tree falls sick, the other trees share nutrients, sunlight, water, whatever it's needed for the trees to survive, sharing life and making each other survive and live longer. But when it comes to business, somehow it contradicts the entire system of living together. We fight with our competitors, not everybody, but sometimes also celebrate competitors' failure. But if you look at Silicon Valley, they've built a very different system. Look at the PayPal mafia, for example. This set of people came out from PayPal, started their own businesses, but always supported each other. And they've all built successful companies because they created an ecosystem. The Y Combinator took it further where it got all similar companies, sometimes direct competitors, made them sit in a single room and built a larger ecosystem. And today look at where their valuation is. Their combined valuation is $600 billion. We're talking about ecosystem here. Even Apple and Microsoft, bitter enemies for decades now as we all look at it. But the time was bad. In the 90s, Microsoft supported by investing $150 million in Apple's business to make it survive. Because Apple and Microsoft need each other to avoid antitrust issues. The ecosystem needs both of them. And that's our lesson there. Stop thinking company, start thinking ecosystem. Your competitor failing doesn't make you stronger. It makes the whole forest weaker. When everybody grows together, we grow stronger, we live longer as well. Now, I also came across some trees which looked very burnt. And when I looked closer at the bark of those trees, I found this burnt wood, obviously. But sometimes they were almost 1 feet wide or big. And I was told that these are the ones which contain tannic acid, which helps tree from not burning. It resists fire. That's the awkward part. Redwood trees, I learned that they don't just survive these fires. They also need these fires because they clear out the competing plants or other trees which are trying to grow from the same area. They make the soil rich in nutrients for them to grow better. It opens up their seed cones to release more seeds and hence grow further. And finally, it opens up the canopy to get more sunlight for the younger trees. So in essence, what looks like destruction in the forest is actually essential for redwoods to grow. Without these fires, redwoods actually become less healthy. Now, if you think of this in our business terminology, 2008 created that kind of fire for us. Devastating, right? But there were a lot of companies who grew through this. Netflix, which was probably struggling until then, suddenly became bigger than Blockbuster, and Blockbuster went nowhere. Amazon, which was still in negative or no profits, broke away all the borders and Circuit City and expanded their market globally. Airbnb, launched in 2008 in the middle of the crisis, looked at that crisis as an opportunity because people needed extra income and travelers needed cheaper accommodation. COVID was another such fire, where Zoom grew from 10 million daily users to 300 million users. The traditional retail was dying and e-commerce took off. Every crisis kills the weak and feeds the strong, but only if you are built to be anti-fragile. And that's where a little framework for you to be anti-fragile. Now, this concept comes from Nassim Taleb, and there are 3 categories to it: fragile, robust, and anti-fragile. Fragile are the ones who break under stress. Most startups today are good examples of that. Robust are the examples of big companies, traditional companies who know how to handle stress and survive the stress. Now, anti-fragile are the ones who become stronger under stress. Amazon, Bitcoin, Airbnb are all those examples. And redwoods figured out this anti-fragility millions of years ago, converting their biggest threat or fear of fire into their strength. And that makes us ask a big question. As a business, as a working professional, what is that biggest fear or risk that we're avoiding, which could actually make us stronger? And when I say careers, think of it like this. If you're working at a startup got closed, that's your fire. Time to move to your growth. If you're working in a bigger company, but you got laid off, that's your fire to develop newer skills. If the market's changed entirely, you probably are learning risk management. So the people who never experience a fire or a crisis never can grow resistant to it. And the first time they hit a crisis or fear, it kills them. Now, when I looked at the canopies that these redwoods were forming, they were enormous because I learned the redwoods, when they grow tall enough, they create self-reinforcing cycles. What I mean by that is, when they grow tall, they get access to more sunlight. More sunlight gives them more energy. More energy gives them more height. And more height, again, gives them more sunlight. So if you look at this, this is like a never-ending loop. This has been running for thousands of years and it's almost impossible to stop. Jim Collins wrote about in his book, Good to Great, and calls it the flywheeling. Let's apply this effect for Amazon. Lower prices meant more customers for Amazon. More customers meant more sellers. And more sellers meant again more customers. Now, once they had more customers, they could negotiate better with suppliers. And better negotiation of this meant again lower prices, which again gets more customers. And that's the wheel which is still spinning. It applies to Google as well. Or you can look at our everyday Instagram, YouTube as an example. Even that has a flywheel effect. So the question is, what's your flywheel? What system can we build which once starts spinning, keeps reinforcing itself? So here's the thing, you have to choose how you want to build. You want to shoot up like a bamboo, fast growth, quick exit, make money, which is fine. A lot of young startups and careers are trying to build like that. Or grow the redwood style, deep roots, intertwined with each other, thinking ecosystem, building anti-fragile frameworks, and playing the infinite game. Like I said, both are good, but you got to choose which game are you playing and play the right way. Those trees don't have a 5-year plan. They are not chasing the next trend. They're building to last forever. It is growing a ring every year. It is surviving every fire. It is growing its ecosystem. The question is, do you want the world to remember? If yes, are you playing the infinite game? Because if you do, there are good chances that you grow the redwood way. Taller, stronger, and forever. Now, when I went to San Francisco to attend Dreamforce, I was looking forward to learn a lesson from the conference. But instead, those 1,000-year-old trees gave me the best business lesson. Because sometimes the best lessons are not hidden in the books or conferences. They're just around us, having solved the same problem thousands of years ago.
What's not going to change over the next 10 years? And the reason that question is so important is you can build your plans around those things.
We're building a team here, and we're going to do great stuff for the next decade, not just the next year.
I know what markets are going to do over a long period of time. They're going to go up. But in terms of what's going to happen in a day or a week or a month or a year even, I never felt that I knew it, and I never felt that it was important.